There is a rule about walking that almost everyone has been handed at some point, and it has a number in it, 10,000. Before the end of this, I will tell you where that number actually came from, and I suspect it will irritate you. This is 5 things it is genuinely fine to stop doing, not 5 things being done wrong. 5 ordinary rules that got picked up somewhere along the way, that cost real effort every week, and that the evidence does not ask for. One of them, I taught the wrong way round for months before somebody corrected me, and I will say which one when we get to it. I have put these in order, from the one that helps to the one I would drop first if only one could go. Number 1 is the walking one. Maybe the mornings take longer to get moving than they once did. Maybe the stairs announce themselves now in a way they did not a few years ago. Almost all of that gets filed under getting older, and once it is filed there, nobody looks at it again. Some of it does belong there. The 5 in this video do not. No miracle cures, no scare stories, nothing to buy, just what's actually true. Number 5, stretching before you walk. What you get back is the 5 minutes at the front door, and the business of bending down to reach for your toes before you have gone anywhere. The rule came from school. Warm up, stretch, then go. Taught to everyone who ever sat through a physical education lesson. It has the feel of common sense, which is why nobody tested it. David Bem and Anis Chowachie reviewed the research for the European Journal of Applied Physiology in 2011. Holding a stretch before activity temporarily reduces how much force a muscle can produce, and the effect outlasts the stretch. So the routine at the door is not neutral. It is making the walk slightly harder. This is the one I taught the wrong way round for months, and I passed it on to people who trusted me on it. The timing is the problem, not the stretching. After a walk, when everything is already warm, 10 minutes of it is a perfectly good use of 10 minutes. The better principle is that the first few minutes of the walk are the warm-up. Start slow, let the pace arrive on its own, and skip the ceremony at the door. And the next one has a number in it too, which is usually a sign nobody has checked it. Number 4, drinking 8 glasses of water a day. What you get back is the counting. The glass on the counter with a mental tally attached, and the vague sense of being 3 behind by the afternoon. The rule is on bottles and in waiting rooms, stated as though it came out of a laboratory. Heinz Valton went looking for that laboratory. He was a kidney physiologist at Dartmouth, and in 2002 he published a paper in the American Journal of Physiology asking where the rule actually came from. He could not find one. No study, no trial, no committee. The closest thing was a nutrition recommendation from the 1940s saying a person needs roughly that much water a day, which then added, in the very next sentence, that most of it is already in the food you eat. That second sentence is the one that fell off. The exception here is real. Some conditions and some medicines genuinely change how much you need to drink. And if a number has been given to you by somebody who knows your situation, that number is not what this is about. The better principle is the oldest one there is. Drink when you are thirsty, and a bit more when it is hot or when you have been moving. Thirst is not a broken instrument that needs replacing with arithmetic. The next one is not a number at all, which is why it has been so hard to argue with. Number 3, correcting your posture. What you get back is the low-level self-monitoring, shoulders back, chin up, sit properly, running under the whole day like a tap left on. Peter O'Sullivan is a professor of musculoskeletal physiotherapy at Curtin University in Australia, and he has spent much of his career on this exact belief. What his work keeps finding is that there is no single correct posture, and that the people sitting in the supposedly bad ones are not reliably the ones with sore backs. What seems to matter is not holding any one position too long, including the good one. A rigidly held upright posture is still a rigidly held posture. The exception is that if somebody who has assessed you personally gave you a position to work on, that is advice for your situation, and it stands. The better principle is movement rather than alignment. Shift in the chair. Stand up when the kettle goes on. Change position because you noticed you had been still, not because you noticed you were doing it wrong. Which brings us to the one people argue with me about most, and it is about what proof is supposed to feel like. Number 2. Treating soreness as proof it worked. What you get back is permission for the good days to count, the walk that felt easy, the morning that went smoothly, the session you finished feeling better rather than wrecked. All of those go back on the scoreboard. The rule is no pain, no gain, and it is probably the most successful piece of fitness marketing ever written. Brad Schoenfeld and Brett Contreras examined this directly in the Strength and Conditioning Journal in 2013, asking whether soreness after exercise is a valid indicator that the body is adapting. Their answer was that it is not a reliable one. Soreness tracks how unfamiliar the movement was, more than how useful it was. Do something new, and you will be sore, whether or not it did you any good. Soreness is not a bad sign either. It is a poor measuring instrument that was handed a job it could never do. The better principle is to judge by what got easier: the stairs, the shopping, getting up out of a low chair. The ache does not tell you that, and that leaves the one at the top, which is the number this started with. Number 1, chasing 10,000 steps. What you get back is the 20 minutes at 9 at night spent walking the hallway to close a ring on a wrist, and the small daily sense of having come up short. In return, you very probably lose nothing. The number feels official. Every phone defaults to it, which is exactly why nobody checks it. Min Lee and colleagues at Harvard published a study in the journal JAMA Internal Medicine in 2019 that counted the real daily steps of around 17,000 older adults. Rather than asking them to estimate, mortality dropped steeply as daily steps rose from about 2,700 to about 4,400. It kept dropping more gently, then flattened out at around 7,500. Past that point, more steps did not add more. 7,500 is not a smaller version of 10,000, and the steepest part of the curve sits down at the bottom. The distance between 2,700 steps and 4,400 is worth far more than the distance between 7,500 and 10,000, which makes the nightly push from 8 to 10 the least valuable walking of the day. If the number genuinely motivates you and costs you nothing, keep it. A target that makes you walk is doing its job. This is for the people it quietly turned into a chore. The better principle is to drop the number and keep the walking. To the shop instead of the car. The long way round the park because the light is good. One lap after dinner because sitting straight down afterwards feels heavy. The evening pacing stops and nothing else does. It just stopped being homework. The honest part. What to actually expect. Here is the timeline, as straight as I can give it. The first thing you notice is not physical, and it arrives within a week. It is the absence of a small nagging obligation, and it is more noticeable than people expect. The stretching change you may feel in the first few walks. The soreness one takes closer to a month. The posture one has no clean milestone at all, and I would rather say that than invent one. Now the part that does not sell. None of this makes anybody younger. Feeling younger, in the way it is meant here, is what happens when 5 small taxes on your week stop being collected. That is a real change, and a modest one. Stopping things will not build strength, and it will not replace anything specific you have been told to do by somebody who has actually examined you. Where any of this brushes against something you already know about, their advice outranks mine every time, and it is not close. And some of this is just a body that has done 60-odd years of work, and it doesn't owe you 30. The stiffness that shows up on a cold morning and eases by 10 is not a problem waiting for a solution. It is allowed to just be that. One more thing, because it is the most common way this goes wrong. Most people drop a rule, feel oddly unsettled for a fortnight, and quietly pick it back up. That unsettled feeling is not evidence the rule was working. It is what habit removal feels like from the inside, and it passes. So the 5, back in order. Stretching before you walk, when the walk itself is the warm-up. 8 glasses a day, a rule with no laboratory behind it. Correcting your posture when what a body wants is variety rather than alignment. Soreness as proof, which measures novelty and not benefit. And chasing 10,000 steps, a number that stopped paying you back a long way below 10,000. 5 rules, none of them earned. All of them yours to hand back. Tell me in the comments what you'd like explained next. I read every single one. If this was useful, like helps it reach people who would rather understand something than be frightened by it. And if you would rather have things explained than sold to you, that is why this channel exists. Here is to the healthy living years.